Alright guys, I welcome you again to today's class. In the last video, we introduced the laws of indices. We solved little problems so as to explain the laws of indices. So today we also have little problems that we have to tackle. So we said to evaluate the following. This is the first question, second one, and the third one. So let's see how we can solve this, having the laws of indices in mind. So now, the number one solution. So we have 3a squared multiplied by 5a raised to power minus 2. So the first step is to do what? Apply the power law to this very side. Or the product power law. Or apply product power law to this guy. So we have 3a squared multiplied by, remember the product power law, we have to distribute the minus 2 to those variables. So this will give us 5 minus 2 multiplied by a raised to power minus 2. So let's collect like terms. Let alphabet meet alphabet, numbers meet numbers. So we're going to have something like this. 3 times 5 raised to power minus 2 multiplied by a raised to power 2 multiplied by a raised to power minus 2. So we now have them in the product form. So what do we do at this point in time? We apply the multiplication law. And here we have that the base are the same, a times a. So we can add their powers. But in this situation now, we have 3 times 5. The base are not the same, so we cannot add the powers. So we now have 3 multiplied by 5 minus 2 times a raised to power 2 plus minus 2. So this will give us 3 times 5 raised to power minus 2, what we're following, times by plus times minus is minus. So this will give us a raised to power 0. Now, when we observe properly, we see 5 raised to power minus 2. So we can apply the law of negative index to the 5 raised to power minus 2. So in turn, we now have 3 times 1 over 5 raised to power 2 multiplied by a to the power of 0. So this will now give me 3 times 1 over 25. 5 to the power of 2 is 5 times 5, which is 25. Then multiplied by anything raised to power 0 is 1. So this is 1. So finally we'll have 3 all over what? 25. Because 3 times 1 is 3, then raised to power 25. So I can explain again. The first one will apply the power product rule so that this minus 2 will be distributed to the variables in the bracket. The second one will now collect like terms. When we did that, we have 3 by 5, then multiply by the alphabets. So the alphabet, they have the same base. We'll apply the multiplication law. Why the numbers, they don't have the same base, so we'll leave it that way. So this is 5 raised to power minus 2. Anytime we have the index as negative, we apply the negative index, which is just 1 over 5 raised to power 2. So I believe that this very example is clear to us. So let's go to the number 2 example. So I believe we've captured this. So let's swipe and get to number 2. So number 2 question, we have 2a to the power of 3 raised to power minus 2 times 6a squared. Just similar thing, so we're still going to apply the same thing. So this is, first of all, we apply the power product rule. And the power product rule is just to distribute the power to the variables in the bracket. So this will give us 2 raised to power minus 2. Then a, since we have 3 already, we have 3. Remember the power rule. So we just have to multiply 3 by minus 2. Remember the power rule, when we had something like a raised to power m all to the power of n, this is something as saying a m times n. We should just have this in mind and we can simplify it. So now, multiply by 6a to the power of 2. So this will give us 2 minus 2 multiplied by a. 3 times minus 2 is minus 6. Minus 6. I know we are following. Then times 6 times a to the power of 2. So let's collect like terms. Let numbers meet numbers and alphabet meet alphabet. So we obtain that 2 raised to power minus 2 times 6 times a to the power of minus 6 times a to the power of 2. So next one we apply the multiplication law. And when we observe for the multiplication law, we can add the powers of the alphabet because their bases are the same. So we now have 2 raised to power minus 2 times 6 multiplied by a minus 6 plus 2. Now, looking at this, I told you anytime we have a number or have a variable in which the power is a negative number, we will apply the law of the negative index. So here we will now have that 1 over 2 raised to the power 2 multiplied by 6 times minus 6 plus 2 is minus 4. So this will give us a to the power of what? Minus 4. So can I underline the beginning? Can I wipe up the up part? So let's wipe this off. I believe we've taken note of this. So now I have 1 over 2 to the power of 2 multiplied by 6 times a to the power of minus 4. If you look properly, you will see that we also have to apply the law of negative index to the a raised to the power minus 4. So when we do that, we now have that 1 over 2 raised to the power 2 is 2 times 2. So this will give us 4 multiplied by 6 times 1 over a to the power of what? 4. Now we can now multiply. So when we multiply through, we now have that 6 all over 4a to the power of what? Of 4. So we can choose to leave our answer this way, or we can choose to reduce to the lowest term. 2 can go here to give us 3, 2 can go here to give us 2. So this will be 3 over 2a4. Or stop at this point in time, 3 2a raised to the power 4. So the same thing applies. We just apply the multiplication law, ensure we'll take a step at a time. So that's just how we solve the second one. So let's go to the solution of number 3. So number 3 question. So number 3 solution. We'll have 16 to the power of 3 over 4 multiplied by 4 to the power of 1 over 2 all over 8 to the power of what? 5 over 3. So let's see how we go about this. So first of all, whenever you see this kind of thing, the fractions, you just think about the fractional power and the root power. These two things will come to our mind. So for this, we'll have 16 3 over 4. So what should come to my mind is the fractional power, since the numerator is not 1. So in this situation, this implies the fourth root of 16 all to the power of 3 multiplied by, this is 1. So we apply the root power to this. Square root of what? Of 4 raised to the power of what? 1. Since the numerator is 1. But 4 raised to the power 1 is still 1. So that's why we'll leave it that way. So all divided by, this will now give you the cube root of 8 all to the power of what? Of 3. Now, when you have about the root of a number, for instance, the cube root of 8 is simply the number I will raise to the power of 3 to obtain what? 8. When you have the fourth root of 8, is simply the number I will raise to the power of 4 to obtain what? 8. So that's for that. So in this situation now, we now have that the fourth root of 16 is the number I will raise to the power of 4 to obtain 16, and that is 2. Let's verify that. 2 raised to the power of 4 is equal to 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 2 by 2, 4. 4 by 2, 8. 8 by 2, 16. So here, for the first one, we will obtain 2 raised to the power of what? 3. Because in the last video I told you, we'll simplify the root first before we'll take the power. Then multiply by the square root of 4 is 2. So that means 2 to the power of what? 1. All over the cube root of 8 is 2, because 2 raised to the power 3 is 8. So we now have our 2 here, all to the power of what? 3. So we can simplify further. Am I free to wipe this one off? Let's wipe this off. I believe we've taken note of that. So we now have that 2 to the power of 3 multiplied by 2 to the power of 1 all over 2 to the power of what? 3. So we can do something here. We can go straight up to solve this, but for the sake of those that have not watched the former video, let's just take it bit by bit. So this is 2 raised to the power 3 and 2 raised to the power 1. We can apply the multiplication law first, since their powers are the same. So we now have 2, 3 plus 1 all over 2 raised to the power 3. So this will give us 2 raised to the power 4 over 2 raised to the power 3. So from obtaining this now, we can now say, since we have 2 raised to the power 4 divided by 2 raised to the power 3, we will now apply the division law. That when we are dividing, we will subtract the powers. So we now have 2, 4 minus 3, which is equal to 2 raised to the power 1, and this is equal to what? 2 as the final answer. So indices is quite easy when we have the laws at heart. So do well to visit the video of the laws of indices. I believe this will be quite easy for us. We will solve further examples to ensure that we learn everything about indices.